Hey guys. Today I want to address a question about making bold decisions in your life and how to deal with fear that comes along with those. Um, Fear, insecurity, um, when you're faced with uncertainty is a big hurdle for many people. Behind, you see my motorbike, and today is actually the first time on the bike that I went out this year. It's just March just started, and today it's a bit sunny. So actually, when I started to um, ride the motorbike, which I just started last year, I did it when I was young, but then I basically didn't do it for too long. So it was kind of a, you know, step out of my comfort zone, because you always just hear bad things about motorbikes and the risk of injury and so forth. But only someone who rides it can really know the joy of it. And that's how I feel it's with so many things in life. Everything has a risk attached to it in life, and there's something in us that kind of longs security and safety. And then there's something else in us which kind of longs, to expand, to grow, and to go into uncertainty. And you might have noticed this in your life. When did you ever feel most alive? Was it usually in situations where you felt really safe and secure? Or was it rather in situations where you went quite a bit outside your comfort zone, and then suddenly it was like very adventurous and you were excited, and you didn't know what happens, but you felt alive. So my whole effort over the past years, and I want to keep this focus up, is really to not go by comfort and safety too much, by this longing, but rather go by the longing for to explore life and to explore the unknown areas of life. Because, and I read this recently somewhere, who really beautifully mentioned this, I think it was Deepak Chopra, that our need for safety is basically a need for the known. And so whenever we go for safety, then we go for the known. And when we go for the known areas of life, then basically there's no growth, there's no learning, there's no really deep experience of life, because you just stick with what you already know. And I think one thing which is really, really crucial in this process, and this really, affects any decision you make, whether it's, like Levant, who was talking about in this email, he asked whether he should go to the ashram full-time, as a full-time volunteer, and to basically break, to stop his studies and to drop out of university and instead to just go full-time in the ashram. He might have asked me this because I did this in the past. I dropped out of a full-time job and went to India for 3 years, but he wants to drop out of university, and there's no right thing, there's no right answer for this. It's like, whether you need to know it or not, you need to do it or not, only you can decide, Levant, and anyone who's listening to this, only you can make those choices. But what I would encourage you to do is really, ask yourself, what's the driving force within you that is pushing you in one direction or in the other? And when I say driving force, it's, in reality, it's always an emotional force that's driving us. It's never really the logic. The logic, is always just, it comes after. And there have been so many studies on this, for communication and sales and marketing. People notice that they always make decisions emotionally, and then later they rationalize it with logic. And if you think you're an exception, then you're just really successful in fooling yourself. But so I would encourage you to look inside yourself, and this can be really helpful, and ask yourself, what kind of emotion, what kind of maybe also conditioning is pushing you in one direction, and what is pushing you in another direction. And that can be helpful in, you know, when you do something which is bold, which is a step into unknown terrain. And I'm not saying that you should always just take risks, do like risky things like driving motorcycles and stuff. No, these are individual decisions that everyone has to make. But in general, you know, Satguru also, he gave this great advice once where he said, you know, it's always best to take big decisions when you're in a state of happiness, because then, you know, you're not so impacted by this need for safety and security. You know, you can either make a decision based on fear and insecurity, or you can make it out of happiness and joy. And what do you think will bring you closer to your, you know, liberation? I think it's those that we make out of joy, out of happiness, out of excitement, out of like longing for growth and for adventure. These tend to be decisions that, you know, we will not regret later. And another thing to keep in mind is when taking these bold decisions is, you know, you need to ask yourself one thing, like, what are you more likely to regret? Once, you know, in 50, however old you are, like in 30, 40, 50, 60 years, when you're like on your deathbed and you look back on your life and you think, oh, did I really live up to my full potential? Did I really do all those things that I was dreaming about at some point in my life? I had so many things that I wanted to do. Did I really, like, how many of them did I do? How many did I put off and never got around doing them? Because I got comfortable, because I got, like, you know, caught up in menial things. And when you look back on your life, you know, what do you think are the things that you regret more? The things that you did, and then maybe they turned out to, you know, be a mistake, and then you went and corrected them? Or do you think you regret more the things that you didn't do? Like, that you didn't even try? And you know, I've reflected a lot about this, and I came to the conclusion for me, and I believe this is true for many people, but you have to think about this for yourself. I believe that I'm much more likely to regret the things that I just never even tried. Because you can never know what would have happened if you just went for it. And there's one thing for sure, you know, whatever you do, whatever you try, you will always learn with it, you will always grow with it, and it will always be adventurous. And if you fail, you know, you get up and do something else, try something else, but at least it's gonna be an adventure. And so I believe 100% that I will regret rather the things that I didn't even try than the things that maybe I tried and it didn't work out so well, and then, you know, maybe you go to the ashram and after 2 months you think, oh, this is all nonsense, I go back to my life, I continue with some other thing. I don't think that these are the things that we will regret a lot. I just don't. So I can't tell you if you should drop out of university. It's kind of an individual decision, you know, depending on like how much more do you have to go, and because it can be very helpful to have this kind of degree in so many things that you might later do. Also, you know, you need to ask yourself, are you dropping out because you just don't want to put in the work? So these are individual things, but you could also, you know, finish your studies and then go to the ashram, you know, so you could do both. That might be an option. But I would encourage you, all of you, to really, you know, embrace the uncertainty of life and embrace taking bold decisions, and then just, you know, living life, and, you know, also kind of surrender, because that's another thing. But this is for another video, you know, that there's some larger force in this life that will take care of us, I believe. So guys, I wish you all the best. If you have questions, leave a comment below. Please hit the thumbs up if you like this video, share this with a friend and subscribe to the channel, and I see you next week. Bye guys.